Cappy Talk. We're not going anywhere. Harare is our territory. Cappy Talk 100.4 FM at 8. Harare's heartbeat. Hashtag dominate.
That was Edith WeUtonga coming through with the track called Rudo. It's exactly 24 minutes past the hour 12 right here on Capital 104 FM, Harare's heartbeat. And as I mentioned earlier on that we're going to be connecting with Edith WeUtonga over the phone right here on Capital 104 FM, Harare's heartbeat, your station of your choice. Edith, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Ndiripo, should you say?
Ndiripo. Let's just get to the business of the day. Who is Edith WeUtonga to those that may not know her?
Edith WeUtonga is an award-winning musician and actress, bassist and band leader of the band Utonga, which has toured so much in Africa. And I've got 3 albums to my name. I'm the president of the Zimbabwe Musicians Union. I'm the vice president of the International Federation of Musicians. My awards are not just only in Zimbabwe. Last year I also got an award in Finland for advocating for musicians' rights. In brief, that's Edith WeUtonga. I have a master's in music and development. I have a master's in business administration. And yes, I am Edith WeUtonga, Mama Bass.
Oh, I can see that you are well decorated in terms of your academics. So how old is Edith and when did you venture into music?
I ventured into music at the age of 21. Edith is 46 and a mother, and it's been so long in music actually.
So let's. What was your turning point in your career that made you realize you were on the right track?
I want to say 2010 when I released my solo album. Before that, when I started in the year 2000, I was part of a jazz band at Amakosi in Bulawayo, and then I was part of a project of an all-female band called Amakosi Gazi. And 2006 to 2008-9, I was singing as backing vocalist for Tanga Wakasando and doing a lot of just sessioning work. 2010, I released my first album, and I remember getting 5 stars in the Herald for that album, and I knew I was on the right track.
Okay, so what influenced or who influenced your early music, and how did you develop your unique sound?
I want to say a lot of what my parents listened to is what I enjoyed listening to. A lot of old music, rumba songs, because in the rumba songs was a lot of bass lines. So Sam Mangwana, Kofi Olomide, Kanda Bongoman. Locally, Baba Oliver Mtukuza. I remember my father taking me to a performance because my father served in the army years back, and going to watch the Oliver Mtukuza at a bar at 2 Brigade. And then also Baba Thomas Mukanya. Those are the people that really influenced in terms of my compositional skills and just being the mirror of society, talking about our everyday situations and so on.
Okay, so how many albums do you have to date?
To date, I have 4 albums. I'm just about to release my 4th album. My 5th album is Utonga, which was released in 2010. And then with Kwacha in 2013, and then with Madalitso in 2018, and we're just about to release the 4th album called Varipasi.
Okay, let's talk about WeUtonga, which topped some charts. How did you come up with the storyline, and also can you fix it which album it goes into?
I want to say my first album really made an impact. Everything else followed, but followed on a very good first album, first release. I did get nominations for the first album and the second album, and it was the 3rd album that got me an award. outstanding alternative album. And but this music that you're talking about, that you're asking about, is all sitting on the first album.
Okay, let's talk about live shows. How is the setting different comparing the motherland and the foreign land?
I think, first of all, what is different is the level of professionalism within which we work. Everywhere we go, there are standard minimum rates. So, for example, if I'm leaving home to go and assist another musician and I'm being called to just go and play my bass guitar, I'm getting paid a very good rate. For example, 150 to 200 pounds as an individual. Versus when we look at home where a band is getting the same amount of money. And so the way business is done and the way music is looked at as a profession is completely different, because now venues and operators that are engaging and contracting musicians are working according to certain standards. They have to follow those standards, and failure to follow those standards, there are consequences. And I think as Zimbabwe, we need to come to a point where we have those standards. We have a standard minimum rate, and if anyone is going below the standard minimum rate, or if anyone is going below the standard operational procedures, they must face the consequences, because then they're failing to bring the decent work to the musicians.
Okay, you mentioned about promoters that side working under certain standards and having a mandate to meet those particular standards. I don't know if you can mention what kind of standards specifically.
I think it's in the way the job is done. The contract is very important. For example, any agreement that any promoter or any venue has come into with an artist is followed. Everything is expected to be transparent. Tickets, for example, go through an online platform, and everything is broken down. Things like paying for the taxes taken away before you receive your money. And so everything should be done according to the rules of the land. So if a venue is expected to contract a musician and to make sure that by the time the musician receives their money, all taxes have already been taken, and that money is not paid in case it comes through your account, people understand you go to a gig today and you receive your money, and this is how your money is going to be received. There's no one who's following up on any payment. If you ever hear of a UK promoter who is not paying, sometimes you want to find out where they are coming from, how they are operating, because you also find that maybe there may be those that are doing some clandestine business, but there are standards that people are supposed to follow, and these are the standards that we are working in accordance to. So, for example, I get my job sheet that says, okay, I'm already getting bookings for next year in April. I'm already getting bookings for next year in July. The contracts will be coming at least 6 months in advance. The contracts will be signed 3 months in advance or 6 months in advance. So all those things are still good. By the time we reach next year, June, we're talking 2027. So there is a way of making things formal and making things easier. And as long as everyone is happy to operate following certain standard procedures, then life becomes easier for the musician. But it also comes with musicians playing their part in terms of showing up, in terms of having their own instruments, in terms of bringing up a very disciplined act and character when they're going to work.
Okay, so what is that one thing you have learned so far from all this experience, from performing locally and performing abroad?
There's a lot of things that we take for granted at home. I was saying that recently when I was at home, Kotini. When a musician is showing up to a rehearsal room, even drama yakasenga drum rake, drum rakakura kuendete. Sometimes the drummer is expected to bring their drum set. When you're going to performances, similarly, you find that a keyboard player is going to show up without a keyboard. A guitarist is going to show up without a guitar. And they are expecting the person that's booking them to put instrument here. So I think while I understand the challenges that musicians face, it's also important for us to invest in in the instruments of the things that we love. Because and some of these people are performing and they're getting paid, but they are unable to buy a personal piece that they must take. Chakanyanyindishamisa inini zemunanoimba sebasist I understand ndinotakura guitar rangu kwandinoenda pandakapinda muriesa room and realize kuti aiona nyangwe muri band muriesa room munhu wese apinda muriesa room achabhadharira riesa fee. So it doesn't become the burden of ari kunzi aiwa uyu ndiye mwene weband. And kana vocalist achitouya kuriesa ari kutouya kuti nemicrophone yake. Kana uchienda kuti kugig uchatakura microphone yako. That's how serious people are. Uchatakura microphone yako necable yako, because you want to be the only person that interacts on that microphone for health purposes, for example. And these are things that we just walk into a venue and expect that they are there, because those are takajaira kumba. So for me, that was a shocker, and now I'm used to it. So I carry all my stuff. I just load everything in the car and I go.
Okay, I've understood that it's a matter of being exposed to the fundamental resources in music. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the jazz space at the moment. What do you think should be done in order for Zimbabwean art to tap into the world market and also meet such standards?
I think it's just about a political will, let me put it like that. We are operating in a space that is regulated, for example, by the National Arts Council. If the National Arts Council sits everybody who is contracting musicians down and says, I think this is how everybody who has a license to contract musicians must operate, people should adhere to that. And those that don't, there are consequences. For example, at that rate, at that level of regulation, a lot of things are set to change. Now, if it is coming from me as a musician, it's chance it is anoshayina, because I don't go to kuti mazwana no bopota achenda ku UK kana kuenda ku Australia, saka ari kushayina my standards are too high. And yet, if it's coming from a regulatory body, that this is what we expect our musicians, to go through when they are working, for example, then anyone who's contracting a musician must adhere to that. Can an artist travel more than 3 hours? They must be given a place to sleep. They must be given a room that they can sleep in that is safe and that they can drive back Mangwana Makuseni instead of them getting there, performing and driving back. That's how we've seen artists getting into accidents, for example. So all those things come into play. How I'm getting to a place, what's going to happen when I perform, where I'm going to sleep, where I'm going to change, and how I'm going to get back to go to the next gig.
So how do you see the music industry evolving in the next few years, particularly in the terms of digital media and streaming?
I think where we are right now, we're in a very fragile space in terms of digitalization and streaming in Zimbabwe, for example. I'm speaking from a space where people are getting paid when their music is played and they're getting their royalties and they're getting them really well, to our space where if one is getting played, they're not getting paid. And then when we talk streaming, most of us do not even own the spaces where our music is being streamed. And because of that money is never getting to the musician. So should we be streaming? Right now, with the age of AI at international level, like I said, I'm the Vice President of the International Federation of Musicians, we are discussing the triple C's that must come into play in terms of AI. AI is not just creating music from nothing. They're taking ideas that have been created by human beings. So where is the credit? Where is the consent? Where is the compensation? Those are the triple C's that we're talking about. And in that age where Zimbabwe is I hate to use those words, but maybe it is what it is a third world country. By the time these things reach us, we are embracing more than we are challenging because we want to keep up, and yet at the same time, a lot is being taken away from us. 90% in Zimbabwe of benefits that come from streaming or from just our music being played is not going to the musicians. It's going to the people that are doing the administration. I'll put that in quotes. And at the end of the day, the musician is not benefiting from their intellect. They're not benefiting from their creativity. And I think for me, 5 years from now, we need to be devising policies and strategies that address the failure for the systems that we have currently in Zimbabwe to compensate the musician, to give the credit to the musician where they are creating. And when I say musician, I'm not just talking about Edith WeUtonga, but I'm talking about the 7 other band members in my band that have contributed to the making of the song Ruby, for example. So, yeah.
Okay, I've understood that we should embrace the modalities and the leakages of the invention of digital platforms in ensuring effective an effective Zimbabwe music industry. So, what's one thing that most people don't know about Edith WeUtonga?
I go for what I stand for. It doesn't matter, how hard it is to get there. I go for it.
Okay.
So nothing stands in my way.
So if you could collaborate with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I so regret not collaborating with my father, Oliver Mtukuzi, because I had a perfect song. And I kept on saying, when I got to see him, we'll talk about this song. And when I did sit down with him, it took 3 hours for us to talk about other things, and we didn't talk about the song in the end. Alive, there's so many, but they are all very young artists, I want to say. In Zimbabwe, I'm looking at, you make it very hard. I don't want to mention names. You make it very hard because there's so many young people. I've already done some amazing work with Amara Brown, for example. Currently, I would love to do something with Mwenje. I would love to do something with a young artist. I'm forgetting her name, but I think she's from Matabeleland North. I would also love to do something with a young hip-hop artist. So, yeah.
Okay, particularly a young hip-hop artist. Can you mention the name?
Can I mention the name? Man. Hey, there's 3 of them. Let me not mention names. There's 2 boys and a girl. One of them is called Noluntu J. She's from Bulawayo. And let me not mention the boys.
Of the girls you say you would collaborate with?
Noluntu J. Do you know Noluntu J?
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
Okay, of the boys. Why can you not mention the boys?
Let me see. Let me take my pick. I have phone in here. It's definitely not that other one. You know the one that I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure what they.
There's a young man who did one song, but I don't know where he is right now. But I thought he had very good potential, and he probably has a kind of hip hop that people maybe are not paying too much attention to, or it's me from where I am. But K-Chaps.
Okay.
K-Chaps.
Okay. So
I'm thinking Takura.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice.
But then, yeah. And I'm wondering, for the girls again, maybe if I could talk Young Gemini. But this is just me thinking traditional and hip-hop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can look forward to a mix of an Afrofusion traditional sound, something like that.
Something like that. And I think this is something that I definitely want to pursue, because again, the reason why I'm thinking about how, as Zimbabweans, we can penetrate the international space using our sound, but merging it, of course, with international sound, because what we hear out here is that for those artists that have made it outside of our African continent, crossing over, they've stuck to some original or authentic Zimbabwean sound or whatever African country they're coming from. And so I keep asking myself, kuti uya kuita hip hop, what if we matched it with a traditional Zimbabwean beat? Pa hip hop ipapo, toisa mbira dzedu, toisa my elements of jazz or my elements of rock and put hip hop. What happens? Because it's all about experimenting with the sonic sounds and seeing what we get.
Okay, so let's talk about young African women entering jazz or in the music space generally. What advice would you give to them?
I think what's just important is staying true to the craft. A lot of us are coming into the space and we are disrupted by other elements that do not contribute to the craft that has brought us into this space to begin with. And what happens is the lasting power then diminishes because we are focusing on the things that are not building our craft or our musical career. And so to keep the eyes on the ball and just focus on the things that build the craft and within the craft and not away from it. Because for women, I think the effort to remain relevant, the effort and the work that goes into stay relevant and to stay playing is more than 200% when we compare to our male counterparts, because a lot of things come into play.
Okay, I feel you there. So, are there any emerging jazz or Afro artists that you are currently excited or working with?
I don't want to say I'm working with anybody at the moment because my union office has kept me busy, and so I've been watching a lot. So there's an artist that I watched. I'm just forgetting their name, but somebody posted them from Bulawayo, and they have an amazing voice. And these are voices that I feel just need a lot more or space in terms of the exposure to perform. We are currently doing a research on gender at work with the Zimbabwe Musicians Union. And I think there were about 12 names that were mentioned. And I said, but I don't know this one, I don't know this one, I don't know this one. And the people in the spaces, in the cities that we went to, they don't even know some of those names. Not because they're not good, but because they're not just being given that opportunity. And I think what's important is for us to deliberately create these platforms where we hear new music. It doesn't matter from male or female, but at least giving that opportunity for new sounds and new voices to come up, because then we get to know and give opportunity where it's due, because we know who is where, because they have been given that opportunity.
Okay, but specifically, do you have names of the ones that are already in the game that you would say, given the chance to work with, or if they approach me, I would probably give in a hand to a particular project?
Will Brown, for example.
I'll give, for example, people like Sofulia, people like Felinandi, people like who can I also take? Those two, like Felinandi and Sofulia.
Yeah, I think Felinandi's arrived when we talk about the Zimbabwean scene. But when we talk about Soulful Leah, for example, I've known Leah since before she blew up, or before she was known the way she was known now, when she was still training at school, because I taught her. I know, like, for example, young women like Vuyo Brown. Do you know Vuyo Brown?
Yeah, Vuyo Brown, I know him.
Yeah, Vuyo Brown is a young lady from Bulawayo, and she's an amazing singer, she's an amazing performer. And these are musicians that we only see when they have some festivals in Bulawayo, but they've never had an opportunity to perform maybe at other bigger platforms that are hosted by different stations or promoters outside of Bulawayo. And so it's important, that's why I'm saying it's important not to keep on seeing the same faces at certain festivals, the same faces, and yet we have young locals that could do with these spaces. So imagine creating a platform where when we're hosting a festival, we already have our cash cows in the artists that already bring in the numbers. What does it hurt to create a section where we have new sounds, where we have new voices, new faces, because we have them and they need that opportunity. With all that Soulful Leah is doing and we see tracking on social media, nobody has given her a platform to say, okay, show us what you can do, you know. But we're talking about her right now, and yet all she needs is an opportunity to build that brand, to build herself, and for people to see what she's really made of.
Okay, so in terms of your social media handles, where can fans access your music and projects?
All my music is on online platforms, so iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Edith WeUtonga. You'll find my music there. All my social media handles are Edith WeUtonga. And if for more information about where I'm performing or for any other projects that I'm doing, if you go to edithweutonga.co.za, you'll find my stuff there.
What of your contact details in terms of numbers where people can get hold of you?
I can be found on WhatsApp on +44 7841 644
Can you repeat the number again?
+44 7841 644 896.
Okay. Thank you very much, Edith WeUtonga. We get to play the next track. We hope to get to connect with you next time again.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope you have a lovely start to your day.
Thank you. That was Edith WeUtonga, renowned age bassist and songwriter, as well as singer, right here on your station of your choice, Capital 104 FM, Rass Heartbeat. It's exactly 8 minutes to the hour of 1 o'clock. And straight up from 1 up until 2 o'clock, we jump straight into the love zone, whereby we get to talk about different things that happen in relationships at different level, at community level, family level, at individual level. Taking us through is Chipo by Edith WeUtonga. Stay tuned.
We don't negotiate.
No.
We take no prisoners. We are here to rule. Capital 100.4 FM at 8. Harari's Heartbeat. #dominate.